Hey geeks, I'm Trey Guillotine, and you're watching a special Geekly Trends where I'm talking about some of the games that were shown at E3 2017 Part 2. If you know me, you know I was going to talk about Assassin's Creed Origins, right? So let's just get that done right out of the gate. Finally got a really good in-depth look at the next Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed Origins. We finally got, at E3, a really in-depth look at both gameplay and the new setting of Assassin's Creed Origins, which that setting is now ancient Egypt. Gameplay-wise, it does look like Assassin's Creed. There's no real surprise there, aside from a few enhancements like Eagle Vision. Apparently in Assassin's Creed Origins, Eagle Vision will be literally that. It will be an eagle's vision. Apparently, the main character, Batek, the assassin that you play, has a kind of eagle familiar that you can use to then survey an area like you would a drone in Watch Dogs 2 or Ghost Recon Wildlands. Now, dipping into Assassin's Creed lore, there is a little tidbit of information in one of the games. I want to say it was Black Flag, but don't quote me on this. But there was a little tidbit of information stating that the first recorded use of an assassin using a hidden blade was in ancient Egypt. So I have a feeling that that event is going to be taking place somewhere in this game. And that will see the origin and the founding of the Assassin's Brotherhood. You're introduced to the assassin Batek, who, while being an assassin or maybe being the first assassin, is also a Magi, who they kind of described as an Egyptian sheriff. He's there to protect the people. I'm already a big fan of how Batek looks. The Egyptian culture and aesthetic is very prevalent in his outfit. It also looks like the very traditional assassin's robe like you'd see in Altair or Edward or Ezio in Assassin's Creed Revelations. I was always a fan of the kind of straightforward robes with the kind of split tail in the back and the front, instead of the kind of jacket robes that you would see on like Arno or Kano or the Fry twins. Or even that little shoulder cape that Ezio had in his first two games, or that Evie had in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. As far as weapons, he does have a sword, but he's also carrying this really big shield, which makes me think he's going to be less of a stealth-style combat fighter and more of just a straight-up warrior, using a sword and board and fighting straight up. The game itself looks amazing, and I'm really interested to get into this kind of ancient Egypt setting, but I'm also excited about the fact that they are bringing back naval combat from Assassin's Creed Black Flag and putting it back into Assassin's Creed Origins. This next game, Fortnite, has been worked on for a little bit, and they finally gave a proper announcement and a release date for it's going to be at the end of July. It takes place in a setting that's being ravaged by this kind of storm that somehow spawns these kind of zombie-like monsters, and then it's up to these heroes to save civilians, build forts, and fight off these monsters. It looks kind of like the gameplay is a mix of Sunset Overdrive, jumping around, having a lot of mobility, as well as building traps and building forts, as well as gathering resources to build these forts. So a lot like Minecraft. Given that there's a lot of variation in gameplay, from building the forts to building the traps to fighting off the zombies both in the field and in your forts, it looks like there's a lot of different ways this game is going to be played. But watching some of the gameplay, it also looked kind of repetitive. So I'm kind of worried that this game won't be as fun as it looked. But again, it does look like there are a lot of different ways that you're going to be playing this game. So hopefully this game is a lot of fun. It looks a lot of fun. It's very cartoony. It's very stylized and very whimsical. It just looks like a lot of fun. The new God of War game was actually announced as the last E3, but this one we got a really good in-depth look at what to expect from the gameplay. Already, the gameplay looks a lot different from the previous God of War trilogy, as that was a little bit of a top-down view, almost like Diablo, as you were fighting off enemies all around you with the Chaos Blades. This game, the camera has moved a lot closer to Kratos, and is more like the style of you would have in, say, Tomb Raider or Horizon Zero Dawn. Really, this game looks so different from the trilogy that it looks like the only thing that really is similar is Kratos himself having the very ashen white ghost skin along with the red marks he has on his body. But even Kratos looks different. He now has a beard. He looks very Viking-esque, which works because this game is going to be dealing with Norse mythology, which I'm super excited about. Instead of the Chaos Blades, he has this magic axe as well as some other weapons, including this shield that kind of constructs around his wrist that he can use to batter off enemies. But my biggest question is about the story. We know that it takes place in Norse mythology, and we know that it's a story about Kratos going on a journey with his son, but aside from that, we don't know much else. Initially, I had a theory that this Kratos was going to be Kratos, but a different incarnation of Kratos, kind of like Link in Legend of Zelda, where it's always Link, but it's always a different Link, and I thought that would be the same thing with Kratos, but we saw in this in the trailer at this E3 that he actually finds this vase that has some Grecian art on it. Think the drawings that you would see in the cartoon Hercules of Kratos holding the Chaos Blade. So obviously there is some connection between the previous God of War trilogy and this God of War, which is kind of where it loses me, because in the previous trilogy, at the end of God of War 3, you essentially destroy the world. The point of God of War 3 was to go around and kill all of the Grecian gods that are basically holding the world together. Once you do that, the world is basically destroyed. So I don't know how this is a new world, if this is another realm or another world or just another incarnation of the God of War games of Kratos, and maybe there's some myths and stories of Kratos when he will from Grecian lore. I'm really curious about how that's going to develop, and also about what the journey that Kratos is going on with his son. Though we saw some really great game announcements and some new hardware like the Xbox One X, overall I feel like E3 2017 was kind of a letdown. Every year you kind of build up E3 and you expect to really be wowed. I can remember past E3s where I was so excited for Fallout 4 when they announced that they were going to remake Final Fantasy VII. Now, of course, we can't remake have a remake of Final Fantasy VII every single E3 and sustain that kind of hype, but I was still hoping to still be excited about it. And while there were some really great games that I'm looking forward to, overall, I didn't really have that much of a hype for it. It does have me looking forward to the next year of gaming, like having Anthem or Assassin's Creed Origins coming out, or having backwards compatibility and being able to play Crimson Skies again. I was hoping for more of a wow factor with this E3. What are some games that you got excited about in E3 2017, and what did you think of all the presentations in general? Let me know in the comments and follow me on all the internets. Share the video around so others can join in the conversation, and check out my Patreon if you want to support more of my future content. You can also see my written content, my reviews of all of the Marvel TV shows and movies at my blog at guillotinegeek.blogspot.com. And subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching and have fun. So Captain America, Thor, Hulk.